What's going on, guys? This is Keshav and you're watching another episode of Revolution Hive. So today I wanted to talk to you about 7 things that the World Cup in Brazil left behind, things that most people don't know about and most people don't think about, from going to the PR and the publicity and all the hype to some of the darker undercurrents of what the tournament left behind and some of the damage that it did to the country and the people. Even before the tournament started, there was a long list of problems that plagued this tournament, and it's things that we might not often hear about in the news and things that once the tournament's over we don't really know about, from construction workers dying to mass evictions to protests to police brutality. So this video is going to be about 7 things that the World Cup in Brazil left behind, so that we can think critically about the impact of something like the World Cup, something that I'm really passionate about, something that a lot of people will have watched that are watching this video, but just so that we can be more aware of what we're supporting and the consequences that it has on other people's lives and on society in general. Because what we're about in this community, in this channel, is becoming a social reformer. So being not just the best version of you, but also looking out for society and for other people. So the first thing is that almost 250,000 people were forcefully evicted from their homes. And some people think that it was an excuse used by the Brazilian government to get rid of some of the people living in slums. There's 11 million people living in slums in Brazil. And the tournament was used as an excuse to get rid of some of these people. The evictions mostly affect the poor because under the Brazilian constitution, under their legal system, their rights aren't recognized. So these are people who are forgotten, left behind, have no rights, and now also not enough food, not enough money, and nowhere to live. The second thing is the social climate of Brazil. This is a country that's already in debt, and it's estimated that the World Cup cost almost $12 million to put on. And a lot of people think that it's not anywhere near worth it, considering the return on investment that they got through tourism and also the social inequality and the problems that are already there. So it leads me to ask the question, if there's so many problems already in this country, in this place, why is it being spent on external things? And if we think about sustainability, Brazil said they were going to build 12 stadiums for the event, when FIFA only requires 8. Now, if you think about the millions and millions of pounds, literally people who've died in order for these places to be built, for them to be used for one tournament, what is the long-term sustainability of this? What happens to those stadiums after these games? These are all critical things that I'm trying to highlight for all of us to think about, including myself. The third thing is distrust in police. Because of the people that were evicted from these slums that I talked about earlier, the amount of distrust in the police force, because of the police brutality that was going on. You can see some clips here of some of that. And people were protesting against some of the lavish spending on the games when there's so much of a wealth disparity in the country. People questioned why the country would spend so much on football or soccer when so many Brazilians don't even have access to basic things like healthcare and other basic needs. The Pew Research Center found in June that 61% of Brazilians were unhappy with hosting the event because they thought it took money away from other essential public services. Number 4, the impact on children. The displacements, the violence, and the child labor have really hurt Brazilian children. According to UNICEF, around 3 million Brazilian children from the age of 10 to 17 are victims of child labor. Whilst it's true that this tournament has inspired so many Brazilian children to go and follow their dreams and reach for something much higher, it's also true that it's strengthened injustice and industries that are using child labor to make profits. Number 5, increase in violence against sex workers. With the World Cup came an increase in violence and robbery towards sex workers. Research found that police raids that shut down some of these institutions where sex workers were working forced them to start working from private places like their apartments, where they have less security, and so violence increased against them. So studies might show that prostitution decreased, but violence against sex workers increased during the World Cup because of this. Number 6, problems with infrastructure around the country. In early July last year, an unfinished construction project collapsed and killed 2 people. And a lot of people think that it's because Brazil was trying to rush through some of the construction of the things that they said they would build in the bid that they'd given to FIFA in order to win hosting the World Cup. And looking at some of the statistics, they promised that they would do 56 different projects around infrastructure, things that they would build, and they only completed 10 of them in time for the games. Because of the rush to try and finish a lot of these projects, a lot of safety precautions for some of the people building these stadiums and building these projects, it was ignored. And as a result, 8 people died in the build up to the games in trying to build these things so that the world could be entertained. And finally, number 7, a legacy of social unrest. There's 16 million people in Brazil living in extreme poverty. And when I say that word, extreme poverty, I want you to understand that it means people who are living not just in poverty, but extreme poverty is a different term. It means people who are living on less than $2 a day. So these are people who can't watch this YouTube video because they're out looking for food, looking for shelter, looking for water, looking for those basic needs. And I'm guessing if I'm able to create this video, if you're able to watch this video, you have those needs met. And where you have this social inequality and such a need for basic access to healthcare, to education, to infrastructure, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, was it worth it?